Hi, welcome to the Forest Service web tutorial on ERMiT Batch Basic. My name is Pete Robichaud with Rocky Mountain Research Station. I'm going to start off by sharing my screen so that we can jump right into using ERMiT Batch. Here is our launchpad for the Forest Service web interface. If I click on ERMiT Batch, I come to the screen where I have to download the batch spreadsheet. Click on the live link. It will download. Here it is in my download. And then I can open it. When I open the spreadsheet, there'll be a couple things that we have to note. The first one is we have to enable the protected view. So I click Enable Editing. Then I have to enable macros. Okay, now I have the spreadsheet. On the instruction page, it tells us that before we can use the batch, we need to run ERMiT once on the interface and to be able to have a personal climate that I'm going to use in the batch spreadsheet. So to do that, I go back to the interface right here. I go to ERMiT, and I'll say I want to do a custom climate. In this case, I'm going to pick California. Display climate stations. I'm going to go to Sonora. Describe climate, just so I know what it is. This is the one that has annual precipitation of 30 inches with 58 wet days. Tells me where the data was interpolated for information that it didn't have at this particular station. Return to input screen, add to personal climates. Okay, now I can return. So now there's my Sonora, California climate in my personal climate list. I'm going to pick a sandy loam, and I'm just going to run this scenario that I have right here, just to make sure that the WEPP models understands that I'm going to be using this Sonora in the batch, and that everything is working right. Because in the batch, I'm going to change what I'm going to be looking at, but I'm just going to do a quick run on it, make sure everything is working correctly. So now the model is running, and here are my results. Okay, so that tells me that it found the right climate that I wanted, and it made the runs. So now I'm going to go and use the batch. So let's go to the batch spreadsheet, make it full screen here. The first page again goes over what each of the tabs do in the spreadsheet. Here's the references for more detail about each of the inputs that you need to make. And then the third tab is the input tab. So right here, I'm going to click on this button for climates, and I have a bunch there. I'm going to say refresh and see if that new one shows up, which it should. Oh, there's Sonora, and I had two of them because I already had one in my box. Okay, and that should show up. There it is. My units, I'm going to pick English. That should show up. And then in my climate option, in this case, I'm just picking a single climate. Okay, so now I have to input information about these multiple hill slopes that I want to run ERMiT on. So I'm going to just do this. I'm going to say hill slope 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. And to keep it consistent, I'm going to say each of these is 5 acres. I can now use some of the features of a spreadsheet and just copy on down to those 4 different columns. Here's the soil texture. I have 4 choices. I'm going to copy and keep that the same. Here's my rock content. I think in California, about 15% would be about right. There we go. And then in the vegetation type, in this case, in Sonora, I think I'm going to be looking at a forest environment. So I'm going to do that and then copy that down to my 4 different hill slopes that I want to look at. Okay, then I have to give something about the hill slope gradient. So the top of the hill slope might be, well, let's say 10%. The middle might be 40%. And then the bottom, it might get a little less steep, so maybe 20%. So something like that. So now I grab all 3, and I should be able to bring that down like this, and they should all copy. There they all are. Oh, nope, that wasn't quite right. Ended up with 10 across. So I will reverse that, and there's my 3. And there we go. Now take and copy that. And now I have my 10, 40, and 20 across. Since I don't have any range or chaparral, I do not have to pick out the percentage of shrub, grass, or soil. Now I have to give the horizontal length. In this case, I'm going to say it was 320 feet. I'm going to keep that the same for all. Go down here for my 4 hill slopes. Okay, so here I'm going to say I had a high burn severity for the first hill slope. The second one, I'm going to say I had a moderate. And then the third one I'm going to say is low. And then the fourth one I'm going to say is unburned. There we go. So now I filled out the spreadsheet. So this way here, I can look at that same hill slope if I had a high burn severity, a moderate, a low, or an unburned, all in the same tables. Okay. So this is using it without having to input any GIS data. I manually just entered the information. We'll hit the run batch. You should see a little, another screen that will come up to say we have 4 hill slopes. It's checking for errors. If you had made an error, let's say if you put something out of range, like a horizontal slope length of over 1,000 feet, it would get highlighted and say, we found an error in the spreadsheet. So now I'm going to say run batch. So now it's running. And then we have to just wait for all those hill slopes to be uploaded to our server. It will run ERMiT and then return those hill slopes. Should see a all done mode. Let's make sure I got that done. There it is. There it is, still running. 22 seconds left. Batch runs completed. Hit OK. And it brings me to the first output screen. Okay. The green tabs on the bottom are the different output screens that you can toggle through. So this gives me an overall summary of the year 1 sediment delivery. It says it had 4 hill slopes that it ran, total area of 20 acres. I think there was about 5 acres each one, so 5 times 4, 20. It tells me there's a 10% probability. The average erosion is going to be here 15 down to 4. A 30% probability, the average erosion is going to be 8 with these other high burn severity with these other treatments. Okay, just to clarify, this would be the unburned treatment for and looking taking an average of all of those 4 hill slopes with and without a treatment. So in this case, this might not be the perfect table to look at because it's trying to do burned and unburned areas together. But let's go to this next tab. And here I want to look at a particular hill slopes. So the first one might be the high burn severity, hill slope number 1, and it gives me the 30%, 40% probabilities. And I could just change this number here. If I want to go to, let's say, a 60%, and the last one, I want to go to a 70. So since it's a spreadsheet, I can just type that number in, and now I can look at, after a high burn severity, there's a 30% chance I'll have 14 tons per acre. If I add mulch at 1 ton, that reduces down to 5. So about a third of the sediment by putting a mulch treatment out there. Okay, so that's how it works. So you can change these probabilities just by typing those new numbers in, and then I can look at different hill slope codes. So if I go to the 4, which was the unburned, in the exact same table, hey, look, I don't have very much sediment coming off, and we wouldn't expect it in an unburned forest. Okay, the next button is to be able to look at the out years. So here I can look at the probability. So I'm kind of interested in the 40% probability. Do that across, and then I'm going to say the put the mulch treatment down. Oh, I'm going to keep it at 1 ton per acre, and then carry that over to here. Then I can say calculate. Calculation's done, and now I can compare 40% chance of these different hill slopes. So this is the high burn severity, the moderate, the low, and the unburned. Sediment delivery, if I add mulch at 1 ton, and this one, I guess I should have said untreated, and then let's recalculate that. So I did notice I had to click the calculation button twice. Sometimes you have to do that depending on your machine and whether it's glitchy or not. So let's just review that. In out year 2, hill slope number 1, high burn severity would get 40% chance we'll get 7 tons. If I add mulch, there's a 40% chance that I'll only get 4 tons. Okay. Hill slope code 4 was when I had the unburned, and you can see I would have no sediment basically coming off of it no matter what happened. Okay. And then this here would be the moderate, and then the low burn severity. Next tab is erosion barriers. If you're interested in looking at the erosion barriers and how well they might work, I can put in the year, I can put in the probability, I'm going to say 40%. I have to give the spacing of the log. So the spacing might be, I don't know, 50 feet apart. And then the diameter. So in California, we might be able to move around a 6-inch diameter log in place if we wanted to. So we can do that, and then I can look at the years 2, 3, and 4 and see how well it does. And then should be able to grab these 3, bring that over like this. That carries over. So now I have my table filled out, calculate the sediment delivery. I clicked on it twice, calculations are done. Here's my hill slope code. Here's my sediment delivery. When I use like a contoured fell log or straw wattle, this is amount of sediment I might get about 8 tons. After that high burn severity, there's a 40% chance with this particular spacing that I might get 8 tons of sediment down the hill. You can see how that amount of sediment decreases, and part of that decrease is because the site starts to recover. But we have it programmed that we also know that the contour fell logs decay over time. So their efficiency decreases over time. That's programmed in and used in the calculations as well. The next tab is the rainfall tab. It's gray because you cannot make any changes. It just gives you a summary of the storms that it used for all of those hill slopes. It's the same storm. We only had one climate. So it used the same storm for all those hill slopes. Here's the storm precipitation. Here's the rainfall intensities, and it gives you the approximate dates that would have occurred and in what year of a 100-year run. Okay, treatments. If I want to really look at some treatments, I can say, let's look at that 40% probability, and I'm going to say year 1. And then I'm going to say, let's sort the results. I have a choice here. I can say that I can do that by sediment delivery descending. So the top one should be the biggest numbers and then decreasing. So 2 clicks of the button. There are my results. So here's my hill slope codes 1 through 4. There's my sediment delivery with no treatment, and then with these different types of treatments. Hill slope 4, remember, is unburned, so it's pretty much 0 all the way across. 1 is the high burn severity, 2 is moderate, and 3 is low. So as we would expect, the sediment delivery decreases with the burn severity. And then as we go out here, we have it that the seeding really doesn't get established well enough to reduce the sediment until at least the 2nd year. So in that 1st year, we're not going to see any difference after the fire with that seeding. But the mulch treatment, because you put that down right away, we do see some benefits of that mulch. All right, well, that gives you a quick summary of how ERMiT Batch works. I hope you enjoyed watching WEPP in the Woods.